Welcome to Thoughts on Ministry podcast with Ray Eppard, a podcast focused on helping you be more effective as you serve God. Now, here's your host, Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us. I'm Ray Eppard, and this is my Thoughts on Ministry. Right now, we're looking at aspects of leadership, and we just finished talking about leadership equals change, or I shouldn't say we finished it, but that was the last topic, and now we're going to move to something else. We didn't exhaust that by any stretch of the imagination. But today, I want to talk about the fact that the greater the change, the greater or longer the lead time that you will need to make it happen. If you're just making a small change in an area that you're leading, well, it doesn't take a lot of time to make everything happen and bring it into place, because it's just a small change. But the bigger the change, the more significant the change. And sometimes there's a huge difference between how big it is and how significant it is. In the leader's eye, it may be small, but if it's something that the people that you're leading have their emotions and heart invested into, then it's significant. And just making that change, even though it might seem like a small thing, but to them it's significant, then the bigger or more significant a change is, the more lead time you will need. I can remember years ago, I was visiting a church. I was in my teens, and it just happened to be that church was building a new building, and it was under construction. They were getting close to the time they were going to start working on things on the inside, and so they had a congregational meeting about what all they would do on the inside, and talk about the plans and see what people thought about it. And in the meeting spilled over into the Sunday night service. Matter of fact, they never had the Sunday night service because the meeting never got finished. The meeting just took on over into that full amount of time and never had a service that night. But I want to tell you something. It was very educational to me, being a teenager and watching what was going on, because one of the things that happened was they got talking about the altar. The altar was up at the front of the church, and the fact that, are we going to take that altar over to the new building? Well, no, we're going to have a new altar there. Oh, my. Well, that's where my daddy got saved. That's where I got saved, down there at the end there. That's where my other family member, they went to the Lord right there on that spot. That's where, whenever I'm in need, I go to that spot on the altar, and that's where things happen. Well, even though building a new building, putting a new altar on the platform, if you would, in one sense is a very small thing, but there were people that were highly invested in that particular altar. Now, at that point, God doesn't hear you because you're at a particular spot on the altar. That's not a holy place in and of itself more than anywhere else. God can hear you in the car just as well as he can hear you at the end of the altar. But yet, there are times that people have invested emotions into things, and it can create a difficult change or transition for them. And those are things that we need to know. Sometimes what you have to do if you're looking to lead change is you have to find out where the people are. How invested are they in this potential change, so that you can make this be a successful change and hopefully address some of the concerns, especially if there is significant investment in certain pieces of it. How can you help bring that along? How can you help change that mindset? It's not good just to stand up, well, bless God, God doesn't hear you because you're down there at the end of the altar. You heathen. Well, that's not a good way to do it. Now, it might get there quick. It might resolve the issue quick, and they leave, and okay, you're good. But you're not good, because the goal of leadership is to move people from one place to a next and bring them and advance them in the will and purpose of God, so that God can accomplish His will. So if it just falls off, well, we really didn't succeed. There might have been a change took place, but God actually wanted us to impact people in a positive way along the process. Leadership does equal change, and the greater the change, the more lead time you will need to make that change. I'm Ray Eppert, and this is my Thoughts on Ministry. God bless you.
You've been listening to Thoughts on Ministry with Ray Eppert. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.